It looks like the new upcoming Pixar movie Elio is in early tracking to earn $35 to $45 million during its domestic opening weekend. The problem here, ladies and gentlemen, is that the budget of this movie is over $300 million. And the movie has been in basically production hell since 2023. And the same thing is kind of happening right now with Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which I was okay with. I thought the previous one was better, but the budget was over $400 million on that film. And when a movie costs that much to produce, the question is, how do you expect to make your money back at all? And this is on top of all sorts of other issues with this film, which is the fact that they went through not just one director, but they brought in 2 more directors, removed him, overhauled rewrites for the film, swapped out directors to the tune of $300 million. And Pixar is a studio that's not doing that well to begin with. They did have the biggest movie of last year, which was Inside Out 2. But the problem is, before that, you know, Disney wasn't paying them much attention because they had, what was it? They had Soul, they had Luca, they had Turning Red, all of these movies that went straight to Disney Plus. Turning Red was the one that was about periods, about a woman's period.
Yeah, didn't it involve a child turning into a panda?
Yes, a red panda.
It's a very specific allegory.
And on the nose.
Like, that's a very specific allegory.
So they had Elemental.
Wouldn't it be more if it was like a red dragon?
I
There you
kind
go.
of more on the nose.
They had Elemental, which was successful, meaning that it did not do great on its opening weekend, but it ended up having a really great run as far as holds from week 1, from week 2 onwards. And that really is the way that you sell a movie now. It's not by expecting the movie to make a ton of money in its opening weekend. That time is kind of come and gone in a lot of ways. You need to make a movie that has such good word of mouth that more people will come the second week, so the drop-offs aren't so substantial, or even get other people to come back and watch as well. But this went through major reworks. It was delayed to 2024 and then again to 2025. Elio was initially directed by Adrian Molina, but in 2024 he was replaced due to scheduling conflicts. And even in the article they say, which absolutely no one believes, because that's not a thing. So there was likely creative conflicts and problems within the script. Despite his departure, he gets a co-producing, co-directing credit on it. He has been taken over in this film by the person who directed the 2 people that directed Turning Red. So they took one of the movies they failed with and put that director on this film, which leads me to believe that they want to get this movie just off the market. They just want to get it in the theaters and out, right? But the problem is like there's a market for this type of stuff because last year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 10 biggest movies that came out in 2024 were all animated movies, if you count Mufasa as an animated movie, even though it's like photorealistic animation. But Inside Out 2, Moana, Despicable Me 4, Mufasa, Kung Fu Panda 4, and I guess Sonic 3 doesn't count, but Sonic is an animated character. Movies for kids that also appeal to adults is like the sweet spot. We see this with Lilo and Stitch right now, which kind of plays on millennial nostalgia, but ends up being the type of movie that they will bring their kids to.
Except that Lilo and Stitch totally dropped the ball and said Ohana means giving your sister to child services.
That's not what they said in Hawaii Five-0. Look, I haven't seen it.
Wait a minute. What does that mean? I understand what Ohana is, and I know what.
Have you seen the original Lilo and Stitch?
No.
Huge movie. It came out in 2002. I was a child. I remember. I have very vague memories of watching it with my dad. The big part of the movie is about family and staying together, and Stitch is kind of a vessel for this, as well as the story of Lilo's older sister taking care of her, and she says Ohana means family. That means nobody gets left behind.
Yeah.
So at the end of the movie, the whole family stays together. That's the whole point. Is Nani, sacrificing her future?
I get that.
Yeah. Okay, just in case people don't know, at the end of the remake in live action, Nani is like, you know what? I'm going to go off to college and study marine biology on the mainland because you can't study marine biology in Hawaii, I guess. And Lilo, you're going to go live with foster parents because Ohana means I'm...
That really happened?
Yeah.
Wow, Disney has way more problems than I realized, and I thought they were plagued with problems.
Disney has a lot of problems, and for a film like this, it's a lot harder when they're kind of coming from scratch and they're bringing about new properties. Like I said, Elemental was fairly successful, but all those other 3 movies failed big time. And I still believe, and I point this out all the time, that the myth is that people want new movies. I think people want new movies, but when a movie costs $200 to bring your entire family to, all in with concessions, tickets, and all of the costs, most people aren't really necessarily always going to be willing to try new things. They're going to want to go back to properties that they know work.
Don't most movies have an option, or like don't you have the ability to watch new movies at home nowadays?
A lot of the time, yeah.
No, I mean, not with these big budget releases. For
Really?
a while during
So they
COVID,
wouldn't put it on Disney Plus the same week, huh?
For a while during COVID, they were doing what was called day and date releases. That's what happened to Mulan. That's what happened to Black Widow. And it ends up splitting the movie's audience, and then they get none of the money that would come from that box office. All the money they're getting from Disney Plus, it doesn't even matter.
Oh, yeah.
Like they did, I think, pay VOD for those, but the numbers weren't great. And people thought for a while that was going to be the business model that they were going to go to, because they don't have to split that money with the theater. But the problem is you don't get the same exposure when a movie is successful on Disney Plus or on streaming. We're going to talk tomorrow about they gave Tony Gilroy $650 million to make Andor. 2 seasons of Andor cost $650 million. So when people talk about that ridiculous budget for the upcoming Harry Potter series, it's not that hard to believe. But basically, when
Andor's how many episodes?
It's 20 something.
And each episode is how long?
Over an hour.
Yeah, so it's a lot more content.
It's basically like making 20 little movies.
But the point is that you make the money from the subscribers, but the movie's not charting like Daredevil. Daredevil didn't chart on Nielsen at all. So you might get some people to watch who already have Disney Plus, but they're not signing up for it to watch it.
No.
And so you're not bringing in new revenue. And the other thing is that theater releases are what spur the type of audience that will buy merchandise and toys. Like, if people are watching it on Disney Plus, that's not the same as being in the cultural zeitgeist that gets them an audience that will also buy the merchandise connected to the movies and the shows.
Well, so that's the thing. And as I was on my way down here, I was talking to my co-host on my show in Thornbury, and he had mentioned that as well, that a lot of these Disney movies, the plan probably isn't necessarily make the money back at the box office. The movie just serves as a giant advertisement for the merchandise, but at a certain point,
the merch doesn't sell the way it used to.
Exactly.
Either.
And I mean, I remember as a kid, like going to the mall. I grew up around the King of Prussia Mall, which is like by the number of stores in it, the biggest mall in the country. We had a huge Disney store in there, and it's just gone now. Like, it doesn't exist. So that there's not that cultural presence anymore. Which is weird. It's weird to look around and like Disney basically exists online and at its theme parks.
Well, and the other thing is, like, so most movies, they don't need to be extremely successful in their theatrical run to make money. They make money over time. But Disney doesn't, like, license out to other streaming services.
Yeah.
Like the great thing about Warner Brothers is I don't even have to have Max these days, because they end up licensing out a lot of their stuff to Netflix. But Disney keeps it all self-contained and uses the funny bookkeeping that they like to use to say that they turned a profit. But we're going to be doing a whole segment about the death of streaming and all that stuff. But when you look at the success of Inside Out 2, I still think that it comes back to that it's going to push people back to using IP that is relevant to millennials through nostalgia, who then will bring their kids to go see these movies. Because, okay, how about this, Phil? Think about something you liked when you were a kid, like a franchise that you liked when you were a kid.
Sure.
Like G.I. Joe?
Yep.
Okay, there you go. Like, I guess that's not really a great example, but or Transformers. A lot of people like Transformers. So now people thought that Transformers 1 would have been more successful because it was an animated movie, and that hopefully it would find that nostalgia where maybe a millennial or a Gen Xer who grew up with it would bring their kids to go see it. That seems to be the way that this works, but I don't know if it works for franchises like that. So they're going to be doubling down on Despicable Me 5 and, Moana 3, because these are the type of franchises that will bring in audiences of parents who are willing to spend the money and are willing to bring their kids along for the ride because it costs so much to go to the movies these days. Right?
Okay.
Aiden, what was the last time you actually were excited to go to a theater?
Ooh. Timeline-wise, 2022, 2023.
Okay, so not even that. I was expecting later than that. So, or before that. Like,
Yeah.
what was it?
There were a few really good movies that came out that I was excited about. Top Gun Maverick was a big one. That was a lot of fun. I was very excited to go see, what was the John Caviezel one about?
Jim Caviezel?
Yeah, Jim Caviezel.
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom. Great movie. Unfortunately, not super accurate, as I learned. And then Devotion. Those three.
Okay. Did you like? Oh yeah, you guys were talking about.
I
Devotion.
loved
Okay,
Devotion.
all right. And I think Top Gun Maverick is probably the best example to show if they want to see a movie like Elio do well, which is that Top Gun Maverick didn't make the most money its opening weekend, but it got such high praise from audiences that everybody ended up going to see it after the fact. I use my dad as the barometer on these types of movies. If my dad goes to the theater, it's because there's significant buzz around it. So my dad went to see Joker in 2019, and he never goes to the theater. And then he went to see Top Gun Maverick when it came out because it's like, what is all the fuss about for these movies? But for new franchises, that's a lot harder to do. Sinners is pulling it off, but that's a different market than a movie for kids.
I think part of the problem is that, like you said, going to the movies has gotten so expensive. But I think there's a kind of an intertwining issue of younger people are living their lives online so much now. Yeah. So much of entertainment you can get in your living room.
So why Minecraft is getting close to $1 billion.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
That's insane to me. But I mean, you think about it, like when I was a kid, we didn't really have much to do in my town. There weren't a lot of places teenagers could go hang out. One thing we could do was we could all go to the movies. And you'd go grab a pizza, you'd have a few sodas, you go sit inside of the movie, play some of the arcade games, and that was your night. Now that's not what teenagers do. They're sitting at home on their laptops talking on Discord. Yeah. And like, I play video games, I love it, but when I was in high school, we liked to get together and do things, whether it was just going to somebody's house and playing Cards Against Humanity while we ate Chinese food or like whatever. But kids aren't doing that anymore, and I think parents are kind of like, oh, well, I can just hand the kid an iPad with Disney Plus on it.
I mean, I do think that that's correct. I guess I just wish that it wasn't correct.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you do about that?
Yeah.
There's not really much you can do. Technology marches forward. It seems kind of like I mean, you can do your part. I mean, maybe the difference is, and maybe we'll move on after this, but is like as the next generation of parents who grew up with technology start to have have their own kids, they see the dangers of it more than prior generations that didn't see it as anything other than a quick fix to a kid with a poor attention span, and they want to keep him busy, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. We will wait and see. I don't have high hopes for Elio but don't use the opening weekend, in my opinion, as a gauge for whether it's going to succeed or not, based on whether week 2 has a drop of box office between 50 and 60%. If it can stay under 50 or between 50 and 60%, that might be indicative of a better timeline for it. So, thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.